This video has been designed to help you work on a healthy headspace. If at any point during the video you need help, you can call the New South Wales Mental Health Line on 1800 011 511, Lifeline on 131114, or visit eheadspace.org.au to chat to someone online. Hey, I'm Will.
And I'm Gabby. If you're watching this video, it's because you've decided to reach out and get some help with your mental health.
That is a huge first step. Often before taking that step, people can feel really alone. And even now you may feel anxious, low, disconnected. Or you may have started to put some things in place and are feeling a little bit better.
We're here to let you know that you are not alone. You will be okay and you're already taking the first steps towards a healthier headspace.
Reaching out for help is a huge first step, but you did that. So let's go work out what comes next.
Last time we spoke about the areas of movement, connection and play, and how they can help us to improve our mental well-being. This time we are going to talk about how we can flip the script on our inner self-talk as we learn how to confidently communicate our needs with others.
Part of being a human is making sense of the world through stories. We all do this, whether or not we think about it. Here are some examples of what I mean. When a friend doesn't write back to a text message as quick as we would like them to, we might start telling ourselves they actually don't want to talk to us. If we hand out a few resumes applying for a job and get knocked back, we might start to think there's something wrong with us and no one will ever give us a job. If we get a bad result on an assignment or two, we might start to say things like, "I'm just not smart." Our brain takes the information it gets from our surroundings and then fills in the gaps to create these stories.
How different does it feel to look at them this way? Your friend wants to text you, but they have other things competing for their time at the moment and they'll get back to you when they're ready. It's a tough job market, but it's nothing personal. Almost everyone gets a bit of knockback along the way. Sure, you may struggle with a particular assignment or two, but there's lots of ways to be smart. You might just need to try a different approach next time.
Can you feel the difference? We tell ourselves stories about where we grew up. We tell ourselves stories about other people. And we tell ourselves stories about ourselves. Some of these can be really helpful and positive. Some can be really unhelpful.
Here's the big point though. Often who we are has as much to do with the stories we tell ourselves as what actually happened to us. These stories literally change the way that we live and the choices that we make. Think about two people who have been through something very similar and have a very different response.
One person has a dream job in their mind, but they grow up in a home or a neighbourhood where no one has ever done anything like that before. Even though this young person has an idea of this dream job, they think that door is basically closed because they aren't from a family or a neighbourhood where people do that. And so they decide they won't even try it. And it's like they pull the door the rest of the way shut. Another person grows up with the same situation. They have a dream job that no one in their family or neighbourhood has done before. In this case though, the young person tells himself the story, "I'm going to be the first person in this area to do this." This might actually give them extra motivation towards their goal, and they open that door which wasn't actually closed. When you start to look for this, you can see it everywhere.
But these are just stories. And when we realize that they don't quite fit us, we can actually change them. And the best part is that when we do this, we help others around us to see a new story as well.
Of course, our environment and circumstances and genes matter. But if we can't change those things, what we can change is the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what is possible.
When it comes to our mental health, becoming aware of the stories that we tell ourselves and learning to rewrite and reshape them can be huge.
The stories that we tell ourselves are incredibly powerful. They shape how we see ourselves, the world around us, and our place in our world. Our inner voice starts to develop between the ages of about 2 to 7, but it continues to develop and change and morph throughout our lives. So we might have picked up on messages from way back in our younger years that aren't super helpful for us now. We might be holding on to those. It's time to let them go. It's really important to know that this kind of inner thinking is part of problem solving. So if we're faced with a situation, we'll mull it over, we'll think of different scenarios, and we'll kind of come up with an idea and a plan, and we'll go for it. What happens when this kind of thinking starts to become unhelpful is we're only focusing on the problems, we're not coming up with any solutions. If we do come up with a solution, then we kind of shoot it down, or in amongst all of that, we're being really over-judgmental and critical and harsh on ourselves. And that's when that inner voice starts to become a bit of a problem. So have a think about, reflect on it, use some mindfulness, check in, just notice your thoughts that are coming up. Don't judge them as good or bad, just maybe write them down. Then go back over them and imagine that a friend is saying these things to you. What suggestions would you give them? Would you say that they're rational? Would you say that those thoughts are based on facts? And if not, well, what's something else that you could think? What's a different perspective to take on this? What other things do you know to be true? Life happens, that voice will come back. It doesn't mean that all the work that you've done has become undone in some way. It's just your brain telling you you're under stress here, you need to take stock, you need to take a step back and just be kind to yourself.
Over the course of these videos, you might have figured out by now that working on ourselves is something that takes time. There's no quick flip switch on our health and well-being. A counsellor once told me, when it comes to making lasting changes, slow is fast. If we try to change everything too quickly, it won't last. But if we keep making small, slow adjustments, we actually have the power to make changes that will last for years and years to come.
If you struggle with self-talk, and many of us do, so it's perfectly normal, you aren't going to be able to change it overnight. But you can start to make some small changes today that will get easier over time. Let's go through some areas that you can begin to do this.
Sometimes one word can make a world of change. Listen to the difference between these phrases.
I'm not good at this.
Or,
I'm not good at this. Yet. I don't know how to change this.
Or,
I don't know how to change this. Yet.
The word yet totally changes the perspective and outlook of the sentence, doesn't it? It brings hope and possibility while still acknowledging how you might feel in any given moment.
Often when we don't feel like we're in the greatest place, we interpret the world in absolutes. We use words like always and never.
Have you ever had a thought like, it will always be this way? Or, I'll never be able to change this? Again, don't feel bad if you have. They are normal statements to make when you're in a tough spot. But what happens when you swap these absolute words? One way to do this is to change the sentence to capture how you feel right now, and then add a reminder that this feeling can pass. For example,
It feels like I will never be able to change this.
and
It won't be this way forever. It feels like it will always be this way.
and
Tomorrow can be different.
both of these tips so far have been about reframing the negative. This is a really important skill we can learn. It's almost like redirecting traffic. You see your thoughts heading in a certain direction and you send them down a different path. And the way our brains work, the more you travel that new path, the easier it will be to travel it again in the future. But you don't have to just redirect traffic. You can set the destination. A simple way to do this is through developing some short affirmations or mantras that help you set the course you want. An affirmation is a kind, encouraging, or reassuring statement or thought that is easy to remember and repeat whenever you need it.
Affirmations are so good for your mental health.
I am worthy. I am loved. I bring joy.
Just little mantras like that really changed my life and helped me to become a more healthy person mentally and physically.
You could pause the video for a moment here and write down an affirmation that you want to start using to help you with your situation. It could be something simple like, I am enough, or I am making progress. It helps to think about the reminders you would want to hear from someone who really cares about you. You can even bring that person to mind when you say the affirmation. On your screen, there's a list of affirmations you can choose from, or you can come up with your own. Take a moment to write one down and consider putting it in your phone as a reminder at the same time every day.
How we communicate with ourselves really matters and can make a big difference. This is also true when it comes to communication with others.
The more you take care of your mental health, the more you will begin to get a sense of what situations are going to be more or less helpful for your mental well-being at any given point in time. For example, someone might invite you to a social setting where you might be more likely to feel anxious. This might be because of factors like where it is, when it is, or how many people will be there.
You know that it's probably not going to be a helpful space for you to be in right now, but your friend invited you and it feels awkward to say no. This can be tricky. You might be tempted to force yourself to go out of a sense of obligation, or you might feel like ignoring or withdrawing from your friend to avoid confrontation.
The skill we want to learn in this situation is to be assertive about what we know will be best for us.
An assertive response can begin with trying to get all the information that you need to put you at ease. You might ask, where is it? Who will be going? How long will you have to go for?
And if you want to go and leave early, is that an option?
After finding out this information, you may be able to go with some clearer expectations in your head.
And potential strategies, like knowing you can leave early if you need to. On the other hand, you may decide it's not a space you're ready to engage with, and you could then send a message like this. Thanks so much for the invitation. I'm not feeling up for it right now, but it means a lot that you thought of me. You don't have to explain or justify your decisions, and you don't have to feel bad about doing what you know is a good choice for your mental health. Assertiveness is a learned skill, and one that grows the more we use it. It might feel difficult at first to clearly communicate with others what you need at any point in time. When we are assertive, we are kind and respectful to ourselves and the other person we're talking to. To grow your assertiveness, here are a couple of things you can try.
Practice assertive statements with safe people who are close to you.
When you're in a good place, if you feel comfortable doing so, you can let people know what it's like when you're in a difficult spot mentally and in need of some space. This can make it easier for you to put a boundary in place when you need to, and your friend will already have an understanding that this isn't about them personally, it's about you looking after your own needs. Last, come up with some simple template statements that you can use when you need to communicate a boundary. That way, when you need to use it, you've already done half the work. This might be something like the example we used before.
Thanks for thinking of me. I'm not feeling up to it right now, but I appreciate you asking.
Practice positive self-talk is to write yourself a short letter. All right. It's normal to slip back into patterns of self-doubt and negative self-talk. But as we grow in our awareness of the way that we speak to ourselves, we can continue to change this. One thing you might want to try right now to practice positive self-talk is to write a letter to your future self. This might sound a bit funny at first, but trust me, if you give it a go, I think you might be surprised. Why don't you take 1 or 2 minutes, write a short letter to your future self with something you'd want to hear from a person who loves you, something you want your future self to remember, and a simple encouragement to stay motivated. You can then put this somewhere where you'll see it regularly, whether that's sticking it to a mirror, taking a photo on your phone, even having it as your background, and come back to these words when you need to hear them. Great. That's it. Boom. We're almost at the end of these While You Wait videos, but the journey of taking care of your mental health is one that keeps going. If you've watched these videos, be proud of yourself. Even taking the time to watch them shows that you are taking steps towards looking after your headspace.
Here's a bird's eye view of what we've covered.
Reaching out for help is a big step and one you can celebrate. Your breathing, sleeping and eating are 3 basic things that can influence your well-being. Setting achievable goals and working on small habits can make a big difference over time. And you can level up your mental health by moving, connecting and playing in ways that work for you. Your self-talk can change the way you view the situation you're in. You can learn to change the way you communicate with yourself and those around you.
These videos are yours for whenever you need to use them. We've made them so that you can come back to any section that you want to work on.
Remember,
You are not alone. We're here to support you.
what you're experiencing is okay, and many others are in the same boat.
You've already started working towards a healthier headspace.
In the meantime, you might want to check out some of our other resources, apps, videos, and podcasts available at the link below.